Good morning, Wabash. This morning it's my pleasure to introduce our Student Senate President, Greg Mahoney. Greg is a senior religion major, economics minor from Granger, Indiana. He's a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity, the Hovey Society, and Sons of Wabash. Greg's also the treasurer of APO and the student representative for the presidential search. After Wabash, Greg plans to pursue a career in business, working towards his MBA, although his dream job would be a race car driver. Please join me in welcoming Greg Mahoney and his chapel talk, Race Cars and Responsibility.
First, well, all of it exactly are jokes, but how the Student Senate is wasting your money. The second was reasons why I didn't try out for the Sphinx Club. The state of the Wabash College Union, and finally, 3 reasons why Chuck Norris as Walker, Texas Ranger could beat Kevin Bacon in a fight. These all seemed as perfectly viable topics if I were living in a fantasy world and people really didn't care to hear about that. So currently, as a student, you may be interested in the Student Senate budget, where and how we divide up the money for 851 clubs, just about as many clubs as we have as students. But it seems that we are accumulating so many clubs, I mean, it's basically like a medieval war chest. This is not much of a concern for me in that it shows that Wabash students are trying to stay active and keep a certain level of involvement on campus. What is interesting is the diversity of the clubs. We have the rugby club, obviously the Sphinx Club here while we're here today, the full contact club, APO, PBL, DHT, whatever amount of 3 letters that you want to put together, and even the door club, and that's kind of brought some speculation. What is that? But we're not here to talk about that. Where am I going with this? Well, don't leave, we'll get to it. But the choice here is to do what you like, when you like it. It's freedom. It's being here at Wabash. You could choose to do nothing and just study all day, or you could be like my group of buddies and work really hard so that you can play really hard. Sometimes, you start on Thursday and be like, well, what are we going to do? Finish our homework early and find a pledge as a sober driver and take us to the Neon Cactus. But these choices we make involve a certain rationalization. Will good come from this, or will bad? Will I receive all the pleasure from this, or is it going to be a mutual thing? Are the people I'm going to hang out with going to enjoy this, or what? Here we could use the rational choice theory to derive a plausible argument for what a person should do at any given moment. But in the end, it's a personal choice made with conceptions of which only the choice maker is aware. Our choices are determined by one idea, and that's responsibility. I could have looked up a definition for the word, done a study in the origin or the root, but I'm going to use the Greg Mahoney theorem, which is make sense of it with my own experiences. Isn't this how we learn anyway? Responsibility is an equilateral triangle composed of responsibility to self, responsibility to friends, and responsibility to family. It's through the interaction with these 3 groups that we find all of our human interaction. Unless you don't have friends. For me, learning has always been easier when associated with actual hands-on application. I found responsibility intertwined with race cars and the relationship with my father. It was through my relationship with my dad that I gained an understanding for what responsibility was and how to apply it to my daily life. Racing has been a large part of my post-pubescent days. When I understood the power of the race car and the control one has over it, I fell in love. This isn't pizza love, or I think I might like the girl that I'm dating kind of love. This is an obsession for speed and power that could only be handled by associating myself with cars. This is where my dad plays a crucial role. All my life I've been asking questions and trying to get answers that suited them. My parents described me as a curious little kid who would never shut up. I could never learn enough. I wanted to touch everything and see everything. It can be a problem, or it was at the time, that if we went somewhere where there were breakable things in the store or whatever, I had to sit in the car. My father was whom answered all my questions. From, was that little piece that I lost on the floor just now important? Or, how come there are 2 racing seats in the race car when there's only one driver? Well, as my father, his responsibility was to take care of me and make sure I took in as much of the world around me as possible. Moving ahead approximately 12 years, well, from me being 5, brings me to responsibility for self. This could be considered a selfish side of the triangle, but it's a self-focused analysis of what's best for you. In the racing world, you want to be on top. That's what racers do. Racers race because they want to win. They put hours of practice and millions of dollars into making sure they're going to be the fastest and driving the hardest. Some drivers with more money than brains feel like heroes when they do a burnout in the pits and head to the track. The problem is, the car is not an extension of themselves. They possess less skill than what it actually takes to drive that car. They get out there, they don't know what they're doing, they're not prepared with the right attributes, and they run into problems. The race car starts with this no-brain driver in a supercar getting into traffic, heads into the first turn, gets loose, and takes out 2 other cars with him. Let me make a distinction here. This is real racing, not that NASCAR junk that most rednecks love, or Andrew Wells. This is road course racing. They have left turns and right turns. The no-brain racer has just taken out 2 cars in addition of his own. If he were to be considering himself before he got in the race car, this could have been avoided. Responsibility to self means that you're honest with yourself at all times. This is a difficult thing to understand. Difficult thing to understand. There are things that you may not be able to accomplish at certain times, but you have to accept it. You need to work towards those. Every good racer knows one thing for sure. In order to go fast, you have to start slow. If you don't know what to do with the rest of your life, if you have no idea what your major is going to be, if you're a senior and you don't know whether to go to grad school or to find a job when you get out of here, slow down. Take an honest look at what your personal skills are and how you can apply them to the real world after Wabash. Look at skills you have outside the classroom, interpersonal skills and organizational skills. Start by being honest with yourself. If you put yourself in the fast lane, even though it's a slow process. Next is responsibility to friends. There are certain things as a friend you do. Whether it means playing wingman for your buddy who has decided to dance with a cute girl in a group of not so cute girls. Well, you take one for the team, but you do it lovely. We're talking about heterosexual man love here. It's a love for your friends. Most of us have friends here at school, whether they be pledge brothers, roommates, APO brothers, whatever. You have experienced it. This relationship goes deeper than just being a wingman. When there's a buddy in need, you come to his aid. You take time out of your own day, your study time, your nap time, your sit and watch my Super Sweet 16 and Room Raiders time. As a Wabash family, we sit down and show that we care. Finally, responsibility to your family. Your family has sacrificed so much for you to be here today. Obviously, this sounds like something you hear on Oprah, but it's true. You also didn't expect me to reference heterosexual man love either. But anyway, the family provides a certain support group for you to hold on, for you to hang on in order to friends can actually act as a safety net as well, but your parents and siblings have known you longer, and they're willing to even give up more than your friends. They are willing to give up to make sure that they know that you will succeed. Because of these things, your family is willing to give you as their responsibility to you. You have a certain responsibility to your family. The first time I climbed into the driver's seat of the race car, my dad in the seat next to me, I could smell the race fuel in the air from the cars next to me starting up. And I could smell brakes burning, and I could smell burning rubber on the street. And it was intimidating because I'd never driven that fast, and I had no idea what was going to happen. But I figured, hey, give this a try. I was nervous but confident at the same time. Putting the car into gear, I had to go ahead from the flagman to head out onto the race course. Mashing the gas pedal, I was off, and immediately I began to get yelled at by my dad. He yelled, and in the microphone in my ear, it was perfectly clear that he was pissed off. I had no idea at first what he was talking about. So I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was a Corvette C5R race car right behind me, where I didn't exactly know what I was doing at the time. So I wasn't going that quickly just as I got onto the course. But as the course you come in and you're merging with the rest of the traffic. So this guy was going pretty quick and was pretty upset, as you could see by his hand out the window. But I headed straight down from that point towards the first turn. I slammed on the brakes to get the car down to speed to get into the curve. Before I knew it, my dad erupted again. I had missed the apex by 10 feet. I was not back on the gas when I should have been, and I wasn't using the whole course how I could have. Now, this might not make that much sense to people who are outside of race cars, but when you're racing and you're going to use a turn, you're staying as far outside before you turn in, and far outside after you turn into the turn on the exit. So you come as close to the corner as possible to keep the car straight as possible, because when it's straight and the wheels are pointed straight, you're going fastest. But the angry tone in his voice over the intercom pierced my ear, and it was very unsettling. I didn't know what to do, and for an instant, I wanted to quit. I wanted to just pull over and be like, screw it, you drive. But I was in the middle of a 2.5-mile race course, and I couldn't just get out and say, okay, here's the keys. So I continued to the next turn, and with more instruction and waving cars by, I got around the track. I pulled back into the pits to analyze the situation. I looked at my dad, and before I could say anything, he was giving me more hints about how to get faster, but just starting slow. Enough time in last place, and it'll allow you to get better. I understood my dad's anger. It was his race car. He had worked the past 20 years to make sure that he could purchase such a vehicle, and he doesn't want me to ruin it for him with a stupid mistake. It was my responsibility to my father to put myself in his position, to look at the world from a different point of view in order to fully understand the gravity of the moment. We have other responsibilities to our families as well. If someone is hurt, emotionally or physically, we rush to their side. At the same time, when we receive advice from our parents, they look at us in a way that we might not be able to see or imagine yet. We have not lived and have not experienced the same things. By considering these suggestions for growth, one shows how responsibility of an individual can be. After all, responsibility is the ability to commit an appropriate response in any given situation, considering ourselves, our friends, and our family. Through the world of racing, I have been able to experience responsibility firsthand. Making sure the car is safe to drive, changing the wheels and tires, the brake pads, and flushing the brake lines. They're all part of being responsible for yourself and traveling over 100 miles an hour. But you do these things and you're safe because you care about those other people. Responsibility takes going slow, but with patience, you'll find yourself